financing. And right now, this project is included on the state's list for such projects for financing later this year. We're looking at construction bids. We're looking at time compression as far as scheduling later in the year. And I am keen on not missing any of those deadlines by delay. So with that, Ann, did you have a comment?
Yes, I just have a question. And since I've only been recently familiar with the whole Springhouse situation, back in 2009, there was a resolution by the board, not all members of this board, but some of the members of this board, for a $1,350,000 bond. And it was ostensibly for water district improvements, and that the water district would finance the bonds. What happened to all of that?
That bond is active, but what we're looking to do is enfold.
Is that active still?
Enfold that bond and some of the earlier financings into a larger overarching bond with a subsidized interest rate, courtesy of New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation. And my goal again is to lower everyone's monthly payment. That may or may not be doable. We're still looking at that, but I believe that it can or it can be close.
Okay.
Notwithstanding the cost of this project,
right.
And so forth.
I'm sure everyone understands, or at least it's my understanding, and it's a personal understanding, that the open space funds cannot be used to offset the water district costs.
That's right. There was a separate financing in.
Okay. I just wanted to be very clear in my own mind and confirmed by the board.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks for raising that point. And very briefly, because the engineering costs and the associated costs derivative from this project were beginning to mount, and the town of Southeast was, as we were allowed to do, loaning the district money, we did have to repay that according to the law, and that's why we undertook that separate financing. Is there additional comment?
I just wanted to reemphasize there was some discussion about the paper roads and development of paper roads. I believe that the plans will bear out the fact that there should be no blockage of local roads. There won't be any impediments in that way. To the best of my knowledge, this is not going to impact on the residents' ability to move about the district, and in addition, that there should be no disruption to utility services in the district. So just wanted to make certain that that is also understood, and I just wanted to say that.
Sir, do you have a comment?
Yes. I'm Scott Linder. I'm a resident of Springhouse. So I got a number of questions about this. First of all, I don't understand what a paper road is. Does that mean it's an approved road that's out there that, in essence, is pre-approved for someone to develop in the future, basically zoned that way?
Yes, sir. Will, can you speak to that?
A paper road is something that has been mapped, was mapped in connection with the development originally of the Springhouse Estates subdivision, which was done, I believe, back in the 80s. It was mapped by the planning board at the time. The land under that paper road is technically owned by the town of Southeast, but it has not been opened and maintained as a town road.
Okay, so technically it's zoned for a road, is that correct?
Conceptually, that's right.
Zoning is really not the issue. I mean, it's
conceptually, you're right. It is
okay.
Allowed to be there is allowed to be a road there. However, whatever vocabulary you want to use.
Okay,
so
good.
Please proceed.
All right, so my follow-up question is, I understand there was some conversation earlier. You and I, Michael, have had conversations. Periodically, I might call and do a quick check and find out what's going on. On my way home, I see your car here one night. And the conversation was that there was an impasse, right, about the negotiations. At some point, there was a conversation about them gifting property, to us in exchange for allowing them to develop at maybe not 4-acre lots, maybe 3-acre or 2-acre lots. What's the specific impasse where we couldn't reach agreement with the landowners to make that happen? Because it seems like, as a owner there, and the cost of water being $500 a quarter, I'm looking to minimize my cost, without the expense of, the environment and everything else. But it seemed like a pretty good deal to work out on behalf of the residents of Springhouse. So what specifically was the impasse?
That was something that we looked at closely, and that was my goal from the outset, was to obtain the property at no cost to the district. We worked with the town planner, we worked with counsel for the owners, and with our counsel and with other parties to try to reach a consensus on an allocation of that parcel and its what we could call subdivisions, which would compensate the owners in a way they were comfortable with, so that they could gift this property to us. Those negotiations were not able to reach a consensus, and at that point, the town board recognized that we were under time compression with respect to other matters like the state financing that I mentioned earlier, and we needed to proceed. And that's when we began to as I termed it, to parallel track.
Okay, so my question still, which is kind of unanswered, what was really the impasse? What were we willing to do, and what were they willing to do, and why couldn't we reach an agreement?
I understand. Graham, are you prepared to speak tonight on the discussions we held with the owners regarding the different scenarios for subdividing this property? It's not an ambush. I know you're not here for this tonight, but Graham is our town planner, and Graham was an integral part of the negotiations.
Yes, Graham Trelstead from ACARE.
I do have one last follow-up question after I hear.
Sure.
And I'm sorry I didn't come prepared to address this, and you are absolutely correct. We were in discussions with the property owner on various ways of resolving that discussion point through zoning. And I don't have my notes here with me, so I don't want to speak to specifics, but we couldn't find a zoning mechanism that would accommodate what the landowner had desired and what would be in the best interests of the town. We did have several discussions, as I recall, but I don't have the details in front of me, so I apologize for that.
And we, as I recollect, and please refresh my recollection and the collective recollection of the town board, we looked at various scenarios as far as subdividing that property, and none of the scenarios proved to be acceptable or suitable to the owners. In a nutshell, sir. Thanks, Graham.
So, I'm looking at the last picture with the 8 lots that are on there that were supplied by the attorney for the owners. With the 8 properties, it sounds like there's things we can do where we can still maintain 7 properties there. And if they gift us the property, all those properties are somewhere connected to Springhouse. The 3 that are on Foggentown, which maybe can get down to 2, and the other 5 that are adjacent to Acorn. If they gift us the property and then we require them, to utilize Springhouse in the future, that's 7 more houses, but that's going to minimize the cost, for me as a homeowner, basically reducing my cost by at least 15%. So it sounds like, personally speaking, I'd love to see that develop, because if we require them to access the same Springhouse estates, my overall cost is going to go down while I still get the quality water that's in there. So what kind of consideration has been made either to allow more development there to get more houses, reasonably so, to offset my cost as a homeowner, so there's not 54 houses, maybe there's 60, maybe there's 65, because ultimately, because of the poor decisions that were made by previous boards here, and the idiots that decided to build a well in a marsh 15, 20 years ago, I'm paying $2,000 a year in water, which is ridiculous. And it seems like there's some options here that we should be able to reach an agreement with the owners where they can benefit financially from this because they're looking to make sure that they can do the right thing for their property, but at the same time minimize my cost. Any thoughts to that?
Yes, sir. With respect to the idea that any homes that were built on this property when it was subdivided would become members of the special district, that's been an embedded component all along of our collective deliberations. So with respect to the inability, with respect to the devolution of the process in such a way that no consensus was available, and as the clock is ticking on the state financing at subsidized interest rates and so forth, again, we decided to pursue parallel tracks, and that's where we are now. Yes, sir.
I also reside in that district and using the water, and my understanding with the request from New York State that we're running very late, not our fault, environmental protection things and all those. I strongly suggest that we don't extend the time because we're going to be running out of the financing. We're going to not have a preferred finance rate, and we're going to wind up paying 3 times as much. Delays are not acceptable to the residents. That's the bottom line, in my view anyway. We have to go as fast as possible forward, and I really, Councillor, I'm offended about your guys' insinuation starting your speech with, I do with that because we're going to sue you guys. Yes, that's what your comment was. When you begin it, that I have to tell you this.
Pardon me.
He
Pardon
said,
me.
I'm
Mr.
going
Bach
to
has
tell
the
you,
floor.
I have
Please
to
proceed.
say all this
Pardon
thing.
me. Mr. Bach has the floor.
Anyway.
All questions through the chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Please proceed.
I just wanted to express, that I didn't feel it was a very nice gesture explaining of why, that the reason why we have to go through all this in an open meeting, because it's a requirement for us to sue you, that it was all said in an open meeting. That's beside the point. The important issue is that the financing has deadlines. The state already mandated that we have to fix the water problems. We're running against the clock. So I urge the board to consider that and don't jeopardize the completion of the project for keeping things open for who knows how long period of time. We're running out of time. We need to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bach. Yes, Michael.
I don't appreciate you mischaracterizing my comments.
Michael,
That's not what I said.
Michael, all comment directed to the chair and the town board, please. Thank you.
The Roths want to be good neighbors to the people in Spring House. Let me tell you, the first time I met with the Roths, my first conversation with them was, my parents live in the district, maybe you should find another lawyer. You know what they said to me? They said, we like the fact that your parents are in the district, we want to do the right thing. That's why I represent them, and that's why someone else doesn't represent them. Okay? That's a very important thing. The second thing is, nobody wants to litigate this thing, especially the Roths. They're the only people that make money in the litigation are me and Mr. Randazzo. And I saw his car. He makes a lot of money. It's not worth it. We know that it's not worth it to litigate this thing. As far as the negotiations, I hate to say it, but they weren't as extensive as was described. I met with the Roths. We analyzed the zoning. We made a presentation to the town's consultants, and they never got back to us. That's what happened. Happened in October 2009, happened in August 2010. That's what happened. And it's not fair to tell you that that's what didn't happen, because that's what happened, because I was there, and so were the Roths. And look, they've been paying taxes on this property since we got the notice in October 1 of 2008. The taxes haven't gone down. They still pay taxes on a piece that eventually is going to be taken. They've come out of pocket over $30,000 in engineering to analyze what is the impact of this taking on their property. That's a lot of money to come out of pocket. I don't know if anybody has $30,000 in their bank account to go spend to answer the question of what is this impact really going to do with my property, the property that I bought in 1983, almost 30 years ago, that I enjoy with my family, that I'm going to lose a part of because a developer put in wells that don't give good water. That's what's going on here, okay? And it's not fair to characterize it any other way. Thank you.
Okay. No further comment. Yes, Ann.
It appears to me, just from the comments of some of the residents, that the issue here, Mr. Gross, is wells and water and how they could reduce their exorbitant bills, tax bills. And I think that perhaps